Welcome to the Heads Together podcast. I'm your host, Jill Mokes. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I'm so glad you're here. I have a bloody brilliant guest for you this week. I don't know why I'm sing-songing. Why am I doing that? That's really annoying, isn't it? Oh, don't know why. My guest this week is the amazing Georgina Little of Georgina Little Photography. George is now, I would count George a friend now. So she is a photographer that I have used for the last quite a few photo shoots that I've had. She is just amazing. She's the person who helped me understand why brand photography is so important when it comes to growing your business. Stock imagery and snaps on your iPhone will only take you so far. If you are expecting your clients to invest in you, you need to invest in yourself, right? It's a no-brainer. Her process, her own authenticity, her talent is beyond measure. She's just someone who makes you feel really comfortable and safe to be yourself. So the authenticity shines out of the photos that she takes. If you want that real true congruence between what you believe your personal brand is and the way you're showing up online, that's what you need from a photo shoot. So a little bit about George. Like I say, she's a professional photographer. She specializes in personal branding and she has a passion for empowering women business owners like me. She really helps them showcase their confidence and enhance their visibility through stunning, share-worthy images. And, please take a look at both George's website and mine because you're going to see George's work all over my website. George also did some photography for us for our recent Unapologetic Retreats workshop that Lauren and I did in London. She's just amazing. She lives not that far from me in Suffolk and she's just a really good egg. She's one of us. Love her. So without further ado, obviously I'm going to put all of the links, etc. to George in the show notes. Okay, before we actually dive in, I just want to let you know that this episode of the Heads Together podcast is sponsored by the Coaching Business Academy, which is my academy for amazing, outstanding coaches, helping them to build phenomenal businesses. If you are a coach who has the utmost confidence in your ability to get transformational results for your clients, but you're struggling to find those clients, you're struggling to create your own signature coaching framework, you're struggling to stand out from the crowd because the coaching arena is busy, then the Coaching Business Academy could be the exact right next step for you. If you want to find out more, head to jillmokes.com/academy and you'll be able to find all the information you need to see whether this would be a good fit for you. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Welcome to the Heads Together podcast. I'm Jill Mokes and I am obsessed with cutting through the noise when it comes to growing your business. Each week, via intimate coaching conversations and inspirational stories, I share what it really takes to get the results you want in a way that feels right to you. I am all about attracting higher ticket opportunities, building authentic relationships, and creating the abundant, full-fat version of your dream business. I mean, how many of us have beavered away creating a light version of what we really want? The thing is, I honestly believe when you're outstanding at what you do, there is no limit to what you can achieve. So, are you ready to put our heads together and make it happen? Let's go. Hey, George, thank you so much for joining me. It's really good to see you.
Great to see you too. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I love it. I've been really looking forward to this because for me, there's something really special when I record an episode with someone that I know quite well, because there's like just a different vibe. It's so relaxed. And I know you quite well now.
You do. It's been quite a few years now, hasn't it?
It has. It has. Absolutely. And So I know you really well, but not everyone listening is going to know you. But so I would love it if you could just introduce yourself, basically, and tell the people listening a little bit about what you do. And then after that, I really want to share a bit of your journey, because you've had a bit of a ziggy-zaggy route to where you are now. But share a bit about what you do now with the listeners.
Yeah, so I am a personal brand photographer, which a lot of people have heard of, but it is essentially photographing people in business for their visibility. And my real passion is helping women in business. So it's helping them feel confident and really show up being them, not just a really forced smile in front of the camera. It's very much about capturing their personality so they can connect with their ideal clients. I absolutely love it.
And you are so good at it. Well, more about that later, because if you're listening and if you've been to my website or if you know me, you'll have seen George's work already, because I only use her for my brand photography, and we've done a few shoots together now. And well, you are just a genius at getting people to feel relaxed, and I think you hit the nail on the head about getting that personality to come through. I remember the first head photo shoot I ever did was with like a middle-aged white male who literally stuck me in front of a camera and made me do the most weirdly contorted face you've ever seen. To be honest with you, I look like I'm constipated in most of the photos. So I just can't look at them.
I love working with women in business, but specifically, Jill, women like you, which just... you get why you need personal branding, but also you come out with nuggets like that, especially during a shoot. And we have so many laughs, like when I've got you to lean forward and you literally turn around and went, "Where do you want my boobs?"
Well, that's because my boobs were sitting on the table.
See, that those kind of shoots to me are just not, it's not work. It's just a good day of fun and laughter.
We have so much fun, don't we? But, I want to share a bit about your journey to becoming the brand photographer and having the business that you have today, because that's not where you started out, right?
No, absolutely not. I've had, as you said, a zigzag career or careers. It's anything but linear, shall we say. I started as a professional dancer. So that was my first love. That's what I knew I wanted to do from about the age. I started dancing at 3, from about the age of 10 or 11. That was my career path. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So the thrill of performing, the energy of live audience was my passion. But life, as it does, throws a few curveballs. And I had a serious motorbike accident. So it really forced me to take a step back, although I wasn't stepping anywhere for a long time, and had to reevaluate what I was going to do. It was character building is probably the best word I can say, because I was young. I was only 21. It was like, well, what do I do now? My whole life, all I've wanted to do is this one thing, and I can't do it anymore. So I had about a year of, should we say, soul searching, otherwise known as partying, probably is the best thing I can say, in London, and trying to work out what to do and doing really weird, random jobs, as you can find in London, to keep myself afloat. And I ended up working in live television in the end.
As you do.
I'm just going to say that. I met someone that worked at QVC Shopping Channel, which I'd heard of, never watched it. And I thought, oh, that could be a good job. It's only down the road from my flat. I was living in Battersea at the moment. I was like, that's a 5-minute walk, or at night time, a 2-minute drive. So I started working there, and it was eye-opening, but brilliant, because it still had that creativity, which as a dancer, and obviously what I do now as a photographer, I crave it. And I spent 10 years there. It was unbelievable. I basically worked my way up from a production assistant, which is a glorified runner in normal TV terms, to a gallery producer, to something they call a coordinating producer, which is where I was dealing with all of the people that sold on QVC, mainly the beauty vendors, which was awesome, because back in the day, I would get loads of free samples before they weren't allowed to do that. Yes. Declior, Elemis, Bobby Brown. It was amazing.
Living the dream.
It was living the dream. Then I ended up moving to Kenya, as you do, with my then husband. So we got married. He had an opportunity for work, and he said, "Do you want to move to Kenya?" I was like, well, all right. Okay, and let's do it. Why not? We don't have children. We've got nothing tying us down. So we moved to Kenya. It was supposed to be for 2 years, and we ended up spending 7 years there, and returned with 3 children and 2 dogs.
Brilliant. I love that.
But during that time in Kenya, that's when I discovered my photography passion. Always loved photography, but never learned how to do it properly. So I basically did it as a hobby to take pictures of my own children. So as my children arrived into this world, specifically when my first child arrived, I wanted to take great pictures, but the house inside, it's dark, didn't know how to use my DSLR. I had an entry-level one. And I thought, well, I'll do an online course. How hard can it be? So I took an online course. I am quite geeky. I am a geeky creative. So I like all the technical aspects of photography. And I learned how to use it properly so I could get good pictures inside. And then I just started to learn more, and I started doing more courses, and then friends were asking me to take photographs of their children, and then birthday parties, and then family shoots. So I organically grew this business through word of mouth without meaning to, which was amazing, right? It's one of those things in life that you go, oh, awesome. So I did a lot more learning, a lot more practicing, and I did work with some businesses out there, some female-led businesses, which there are many. And I have to admit, what takes me 2 hours now and used to take me about 10 hours out in Kenya, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a process, didn't have a plan. I'd literally turn up and go, what are we photographing? Whereas now I very much have a process, as you know. I make sure that I understand your business, your personality, who your clients are, what their pain points are, what your stories are, to make sure that I can capture absolutely everything. So that investment that my clients spend with me, it's not wasted. You don't come back in 3 months and say, I need more now because you missed X, Y, Z. It's very much about capturing what you need. And then when their business evolves or they need extra, that's when they can come back to me. It's not that we've missed what we needed the first time round.
Ooh, I love that. And you know what? As someone who's been through your process a few times, and actually you don't skimp me either, you know, just because I've done it before, we still do that same preparation. And that was something that really surprised me the first time, was that I thought we would just show up, or you'd come here to my place and just snap some shots, you know, like you do. That's kind of what you assume. There is so much more goes into it. I'm sure not every brand photographer does it the same way, but the process that you've put together really is pretty comprehensive, isn't it? There's a reason that you call yourself a brand photographer, right? Because I think that is quite nuanced. So for me, let's take me, for example. You would want to understand, what do I want the photos for? Where am I going to use them? And also, like, what kind of clients do they need to appeal to? And more than that. But it was a really thorough process. I want to talk a little bit about the other side of what you do in terms of preparing as well for a shoot. I've probably gone off. You were beautifully telling your story there, and I've just hijacked it because I really want to know the answer to this. And that is that you are someone who makes her clients feel so at ease. I feel like it's really important for me to share this because as someone who is a plus size lady, I always think I'm a thin person trapped in a slightly larger body. But I was paranoid about photos before we worked together the first time. I hated having photos of me. And you know what? That for me was actually quite brand damaging, because what would happen is that I would go to stock photography rather than use images of myself, which meant that my website was completely generic. It could have been anyone. It had no brand personality whatsoever. You know, someone who booked a call with me had no idea who was going to be the other side of the screen. But it was because I was too embarrassed, because I felt like I looked awful. The photos weren't very flattering. I didn't know how to stand, how to look, how to hold myself. And I definitely didn't know how to relax. How have you got to this point where when you work with a client, it's almost like you're a little bit telepathic and know the things that are going to make me feel uncomfortable, and you do it so gently and carefully, and that pre-work that made me feel really relaxed? How have you got to a point where you get to do that? Because that is a skill in its own right.
It's a really good question. I think, firstly, part of my process is understanding what you don't like about yourself on photos, not necessarily what you don't like about yourself as a whole, because as women, we're very good at telling everybody what we don't like about ourselves. But my process is firstly making sure that I get to know you, but also being really frank with you. I need to know what it is that you are not liking in front of a camera. So I'm armed with all of that information straight away. But as women, we often grapple with visibility, don't we? Being seen, feeling enough and putting ourselves out there confidently. And I find that women in business specifically, we need to be visible, but we're so self-critical. We are the most critical about ourselves when we put ourselves in front of a camera. And my goal, and I suppose my superpower, I think I can say that, is making the experience of a photo shoot empowering. It's about helping you feel relaxed in your own skin. Because I've got to know you already in that process, it's about drawing that personality out and making sure that how you are in front of me is the real you. It's authentic because I'm capturing that. I always find with clients, maybe this is my dancing days as well, because I know how to move my body and I know how people look comfortable. So when I get people into poses, I can automatically see, I'm like, now you feel comfortable. But when I sometimes put a client in a certain pose and say, do this, I can see straight away, I'm like, yeah, that's not working for you. Let's find the next pose. Let's find something that I can see you're relaxed and feel comfortable. And that all comes down to understanding perhaps the body. I think it's given me a unique perspective on movements, even emotion and presence from being a performer. And not everyone, Jill, you always say, you didn't like being in front of the camera, but working with you, it's so, what's the best word to use here?
Careful.
I mean, it's yeah. It's brilliant because you are you. Regardless of how you felt on that first shoot that we worked together, you were so you still. We cracked jokes. I found it very easy to work with you. Not everyone finds it as easy to feel that confidence or to maybe show me their personality straight away. So it's about putting people at ease. And it is, I mean, I love working with women. I'm a woman, so I get it. I'm not 100% happy in front of the camera. I know what I don't like about myself. Yes, I know how to pose myself, partly because of being a dancer and also the fact that I'm a photographer. But it's capturing people's unique energy and essence in a way that feels authentic to them, not to me, to them. And I can see straight away in front of my camera when someone feels relaxed. And it's not just about the photos, is it? It's about showing them how powerful they are and giving them tools to share that to the world. So I always think it's a real moment of them feeling empowered.
I love that, George, because you know what? I think you say that as if that's obvious. It's not just about the photos. It's about, how you're making someone getting to feel empowered, etc. I'm not sure that every photographer out there understands that. And I think for a lot of people, it is about the photos, but it's almost like you don't get the best of one without the other. Every shoot you've done with me, when I look at those photos, I can see in the photos the way you made me feel as we were doing the shoot. So relaxed, we were having fun. You made me feel safe enough to be that authentic and to risk feeling a little silly, maybe. And I think that's really important too, because some people, I mean, I'm probably not one of them, in that self-consciousness tends to not disable me too much. Especially when I've got my tits on the table.
I love that about you. But I love that about you. That's why I love working with you, because you are just like, this is me, take me or leave me.
Absolutely. But I think even someone who's a lot less confident than me, I feel would be able to thrive in a photo shoot with you. And that is because of that focus you put on making them feel empowered and relaxed and comfortable and safe. And it shows in the end result of the photo. Also, it doesn't hurt that you get business. You're a successful business owner yourself. You're savvy. You kind of understand business too. So you understand what we need these photos to do for us as entrepreneurs, as women in business. So that does help.
I think you've hit the nail on the head on. Just to add to that, we're all in the same boat. We're in different storms. We're in different paths at the moment, but it's the empowering women. And I just want to add something, what you said about feeling safe. It is really key. So I'm always paying close attention to my clients' body language and their energy. So it's making sure that environment that they're in, it feels supportive and encouraging. So it's creating that space where women feel at ease, because that's where their true essence really shines through. And it's similar to being on stage. The magic happens when you feel confident and free.
I think the fact as well, so I'm going to add to that as well, is that you have an air of confidence about you. And that inspires confidence in others. I'm sure that must come from your time as a performer for sure, is like you're not uncomfortable in your own skin and you are confident to interact really naturally with people. And I think that makes people feel more relaxed in your company too. All of these things that are so important. Something I want to talk about is just going back a bit to your story, which is, like I say, it's a winding path to get to where you have. And I want to go back to when that motorcycle accident that really ended your dream of being a dancer. And I see a real connection here between the resilience that you must have had to move forward after that. Like you say, you did lots of different things looking for your next thing. And then that daring streak of moving to Kenya, starting a whole new life there. This is a really tough question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because it's me. Do you think you would be the woman that you are today if you hadn't had that happen to you?
No. I mean, it's a one-word answer, just 100% not, because it has taught me so much. And I think being a business owner is bloody hard, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy. We have to do things that we don't feel comfortable doing. You have to step out of your comfort zone all the time. And I think the key for me is that I learned so much resilience from that accident, that it taught me so much about myself as a person. And I was a baby then. I was 21. I was still growing up. It was a complete curveball in my life. I was very lucky. I was supported by family. I had a lot of love and support around me.
Sure.
But when your entire identity is tied up being one thing and you're told you can't do that. I mean, I did go back and say, well, I stuck my 2 fingers up to my orthopedic surgeon and I said, watch me, because I will, because nobody tells me what I can't do. And I did go back and I tried a couple of contracts, but it was too painful. At the age of 22, I couldn't get out of bed without pain. I was like, this isn't worth it. I've got to go and find another path. You can sit down and you can mope and you can decide that you're not going to do anything with your life, but that's not an option for most of us. You can't just decide you're not going to do anything, because how do you live? How do you move forward? But I think being adaptable is such a valuable asset. And that's what I had to do. I had to adapt. What am I good at? Who am I as a person? What do I want to do? What can I do? When, to be fair, although I got good grades, I didn't go to university. I went to Performing Arts College. I did A-level theatre studies. I mean, could I have gone into the theatre? Yeah, 100%. I decided not to do that path, partly because I didn't want to be faced with people doing what I was doing every single day and having to be behind the scenes. That, for me, was a non-starter. So it was finding a way to channel me and my creativity and who I was as a person then, which is very different to now, into what I could become. And it's not been a linear path at all. And it's not, some of it's not even been one that I've chosen, or I've consciously chosen. Like the photography was one of those things that it just grew organically when I was in Kenya. And yes, coming back to the UK was another eye-opener, because suddenly I had to market myself.
Right.
I was like, well, how do I do this? I don't really like social media. I know I need to be on it, but I'm not one of those people that puts my whole life on social media. And suddenly I've got to put myself out there. You know, at that point I was doing family photography. So it was a very different kettle of fish. Although I knew about branding photography, I didn't understand it fully. So when I really immersed myself in personal brand and what it means, and it's so much more than a logo. It's so much more than colors. It's so much more than you showing up with just a headshot of yourself. It is very much about bringing your brand to life. And especially, you know, Jill, like people like you, that you're a coach, you are your brand. People need to see you because they are working with you and they need to see who you are, and they need to know, is this the coach for me? Is this the person that will help me with my business? And I think the first time I went onto Zoom with you about something completely different it was about networking, wasn't it? And I saw the sign on your wall that says, don't be a dick. And I just instantly went, I like you.
That's my filter. I was talking to a new client about this the other day, and I was saying, you know, really that is the filter. And Dave will often say to me, you can't have that up on there. Because, you know, when you're talking to clients, I say, I absolutely can. Because if people don't find that funny, they're going to hate working with me.
Right.
I'm a middle-aged woman. I practically still laugh at farts. I mean, they're going to definitely hate working with me.
I was listening to the radio today about sloths. And did you know that they have a really slow digestive system, which means they only poo once a week, but they also don't fart through their bottoms. They fart through their mouth. So they have methane coming out of their mouth.
What? That is literally the most random thing ever. I feel like everyone needs to hear that. There aren't enough sloth facts in podcasts these days.
Can you imagine if that was humans, though? I mean, that takes...
Oh, God.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Imagine. See, that's why I love you, George. We have that kind of conversation.
But sloths are so cute, but they fart through the mouth. Anyway.
Exactly. But to your point about personal brand and the don't be a dick sign, everything is about authenticity in a way, because I need there to be complete congruence between the way I present myself online. So the photos that you've taken of me, I think do a great job of doing that after all the work you put in getting to know me. You know, that's how you build client loyalty, because I would no more seek out another photographer now than stab myself in the eye, because why would I? Do you know what I mean? Like when you found someone who gets you and you feel like it's easy working with them, you know, suddenly, and this is what I try and teach my clients all the time, is that if you can give a client that kind of experience so that they don't even consider your competition, because why would they? You know, that's the nirvana. That's the nirvana of business. You know, it's so much easier to retain clients than it is to create new ones, as we all know. It means so much to me to have you on board. And of course, now you've also come and done some photographs for us for unapologetic retreats as well with Lauren and I. I love working with you, and it's for a lot of different reasons. But in terms of thinking a bit wider about why brand photography is so important, and I think we started kind of touching on it there about that congruency between who you are as an entrepreneur and the way you show up and present yourself. Like, what do you see the biggest mistakes being that people make with that in terms of their photography?
I think that's a really good question, because I think one of the major misconceptions is that personal brand photography is purely about looking polished or perfect. And in reality, it's about authenticity. And I'm not going to lie, it is a more polished version of you. It's not your Sunday morning, I've just got out of bed, let's have a photo shoot. You're going to look how you want to look to make yourself feel more confident. But your clients, my clients, we all want to connect with the real person that we are working with, not a version that feels distant or, I suppose, overly curated. And I think another misconception is that only extroverted or naturally confident people can have great photos. And that's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. I do think it is a lot about your photographer helping you feel comfortable. And we talked about that safe space, and it's about them being able to read your body language and your energy to making sure that you do feel that comfort and you can relax into that photo shoot. And I've worked with so many women who were initially nervous or self-conscious. Well, we all are, aren't we? And it's all about creating that relaxed atmosphere. So I think when people feel comfortable, they feel understood, so they know that I know what they are all about, that I know what they want to get out of working with me. Their true self, that authentic person really comes forward. And that's where the magic happens. It's the magic that we capture. It's that personality. It's not that forced smile that isn't you. And just to put into context, I am not an extrovert. Essentially, I'm an introvert that has learned to look like that I'm confident, which is probably helped by my performing days. But I am getting to that point in life where I am comfortable in myself. And the same as you, if you don't want to work with me, that's fine, because this is who I am.
Yeah, that's fine too.
I don't have to show up being somebody that I'm not. It has to be, because my clients need to trust me, I have to show up as me. And just sort of going back to your question, I always do this. I go off on little tangents, but in reality, professional images can be a key step in really defining your brand and gaining the confidence to take your business to the next level. I think it's as simple as that.
I feel like it's a game changer. I do think it's a game changer. I think that there's only so far that poor headshots and stock photography can take you. So I think if you're serious about growing your business And I don't mean that in terms of, you wait until you've got a big team or anything like that. I think it's in terms of up-leveling yourself as a personal brand, as an entrepreneur. And when you're really getting serious about that, a really good photo shoot and having a set of photos that you can use for your website, for your social media, whenever you show up on a platform. If you're going to be featured on someone else's podcast, having a really good headshots do count still, don't they? But they are just part of the picture. I think all of that it does a couple of things. I think it absolutely allows people to trust in who you are as a brand, because it's that congruence again. They're not getting surprised. So in other words, you could have like the best copywriter in the world and have amazing copy on your website. But if they then meet you in person and you bear no resemblance to the person you tried to portray yourself as on your website, that's a trust breaker, isn't it?
Yeah. There's no journey there then, is there? You might like someone, but to trust, it has to be there. It has to start from the beginning. And if it doesn't start from the beginning, then that client is lost, or that potential client is lost.
There just can't be a mismatch, I think. There has to be an alignment with the way you portray yourself and who you really are. And that's why, to your point of, one of the misconceptions is that brand photography is about creating these very polished, stylized images. That's missing the point. I think that's missing the value in brand, because I think what we're aiming for is complete alignment with the way you present yourself and the way you show up, so that no one gets any surprises, because that's when they trust you. That's when they're like, oh, this person's the real deal.
100%. Like I said, I'm not trying to catch you not feeling confident. So it is still about you showing up in the best way that you want to. It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, yes, it does. We don't want to be showing up in a place that doesn't reflect your brand, but it's in terms of the location, it is about capturing your personality. It's about capturing you. And with that, all the quirks, I think part of our conversation when we were planning for your shoot, I was like, is there any quirky things? Is there anything that you absolutely love? Like for me, it's salt and vinegar crisps and wine. One of my brand shots, I think it's my profile picture for a few places, even on Facebook, is me eating salt and vinegar crisps. It's a great picture. It's a brand shot. It's in the space that I wanted. But it's that when anyone asks me, and friends that know me very well, if I could just eat salt and vinegar crisps, that is exactly what I'd eat all day long. But that doesn't work to keep me healthy at all.
It's not really a balanced diet, George.
Not so much. I keep myself hydrated with wine, obviously.
Obviously, you're not stupid. But do you know what? That reminds me of my first shoot with you. Do you remember when the Don't Be a Dick sign made an appearance?
Well, I think I said you cannot not come with that sign.
Yeah, you have to bring that sign. And you are absolutely right. That is a part of who I am. And it's a story that people love to hear as well. People find that quite funny, that it's there and it acts as this filter for the experience people are going to get when they work with me. Yeah. So I think you do that very, very well. That's something else that you did that really surprised me, actually, was all the preparation that goes into it, where we go through and you literally write down everything in terms of props, in terms of you help choose outfits. One thing you've done for me a couple of times, which has been amazing, is you've actually sourced locations as well, because being authentic doesn't mean that you can't use a location that isn't yours. Now, the beautiful pictures of me, yes, I really want that to be my kitchen, where the ones where I'm leaning over the desk, tits off the desk at that point, like the centre bit in the kitchen. I want that to be my kitchen, don't get me wrong. But I live in a dark Victorian cottage with lots of beams, and it would not make for a really good photo shoot location. It's very dark. But you helped me and found a couple of amazing locations, and they were really on brand for me because you'd done all of that work with me of understanding the brand. I remember you saying, I think you're going to really love this one. And that was the Dutch barn one that we did. And that was amazing. It was perfect. And I'm not saying that everyone wants that. Some people absolutely want to be in their own environment for their photo shoot. That's cool too. But for me, I was able to feel relaxed and be myself in this big spacious environment that I got to use. It's very personal, isn't it? I think the nuances of the shoot, what props you're going to use, what space you're going to use. Because the other thing was, do you remember that first shoot? We also went and did some shots in the local cafe too.
Oh, we did. I love that cafe.
Yes. My headshot that I use everywhere. If you're listening to this, have a look on my LinkedIn or my Instagram profiles. That headshot was in this little cafe that you found as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The Hideout, Attleborough, wasn't it?
Yes.
Loves that cafe. And we've got a good one where, talking about authenticity, where you literally stuck your finger up at me through the window and I just caught it through the O of the Hideout sign through the window. And it was like this perfect moment of, I've just captured Jill Mokes in the most, you had the perfect expression. I was like, that is Jill.
That's hilarious. And I'm giving you the finger. You do realise now that when we promote this episode, I'm actually going to have to use that photo to promote this episode of the podcast.
You are going to have to use that photo without a doubt.
I feel like it would be rude not to now that we've tempted people with it.
Love it.
Good. Have you got any stories that you need to tell us about photo shoots? Anything stand out? Well, other than mine, obviously, when Kate came and was my assistant, kept flashing me.
I think Kate holding the podcast mic underneath the table while we took pictures of you.
Oh, I'd forgot.
So she was lying on the floor, wasn't she? Holding the mic. And I was like, Kate, just a little bit higher. My arms are hurting now, George. I was like, you're fine. It's all right.
Stick in there. This is what everyone needs a best friend for, by the way. But that's so true. So again, if you're listening, you might have seen on the podcast, if you look at the cover art for this podcast, for the Heads Together podcast. So if you're listening on Apple, iTunes, wherever you're listening, if you look at the cover art, that photo, this is the truth of that photo, is that my best friend Kate was actually lying on the floor holding the microphone to create that shot.
We couldn't put it on the table, could we?
No, we couldn't. Well, we didn't want to clamp it on to that beautiful oak table.
No, definitely don't. We didn't put the marks on it.
George, this has been such a good conversation, and I knew we would have a good conversation because, like I said at the beginning, when I get to interview people that I know, it's just so fun because we can reminisce and share things that I think people are going to find entertaining as well as useful. Is there anything that we've left out about why people, if they haven't already, should be booking a photo shoot, whether that be with you or whether it's someone local to them that is a good photographer? How does someone go about choosing, for example, the right photographer for them?
First of all, I think photography in general has the power to transform how women see themselves. I see it time and time again. So when a woman steps in front of my camera, I know she's going to be battling self-doubt, feeling the pressure to look perfect. But during sessions, during my shoots, something amazing often happens. And my clients, like you often, I think you started from the beginning, to be honest, they start to own their own presence. And it's about helping women see themselves the way that the world sees them, strong, capable, powerhouse women. So when they get their photos back and they see that strength reflected, it's like this moment of realization of, that's me.
Oh,
and it's such an incredible, powerful experience. It's why I'm so passionate about what I do. And I've had women, I can show them back of my camera during the shoot, and I've shown them a picture of themselves. This is unedited, so it is literally, out of the camera. And I've had women go, that's me. I was like, well, yes. And I've had women start to kind of tear up and like, no crying. I'm glad you like it, but no crying.
I can relate to that. No crying. Not now. Not with that beautiful
makeup. Exactly.
I felt a bit like that. In fact, I felt like that with every shoot I've done with you. I am a confident person. I know that. And I know that that is something that really serves me because my confidence allows me to do things that other people don't do. And I'm so thankful for that. I love it. But I also have my own insecurities, definitely around my weight. That was a really big one. So for however confident I am in business, in showing up, it doesn't mean that I don't feel, I feel that uncomfortableness. I feel self-consciousness, but I do it anyway, because that's what I've kind of developed in myself, is a grit to do it anyway, to show up anyway. So for me to be made to feel so safe and relaxed to get the kind of results that you have got for me through the photos is just everything. And I'm so grateful to you for that. I could tear up a bit now because honestly,
I'm going to start crying in a minute. Just to take, I suppose, not to change subject from that other part of the question that you said, how do you choose your photographer? Because let's face it, I mean, there is a plethora of us, right? There's so many of us out there. And the great thing is that you would hope most of us know what we're doing. And we do. We're all different. We're all unique. For me, obviously, you have to like their work. You have to see their work and think, do I see those photos? And I think, yeah, they're beautiful, because we all edit differently. Some are moody and dark. Some are light and area. Some are very colourful. For me, I would say I'm more colourful. I'm very true to what you see, but also talk to them. You don't have to book your photographer over a website. You need to get on the phone and talk to them. It's really key that you click with that person, because if you don't, you're not going to be relaxed. You're not going to feel comfortable. And I think, especially for women, if you feel comfortable having a male photographer, then great. But go and find yourself a male photographer. If you feel comfortable about having a more comfortable, then use a female photographer. For me, it is, I'm a woman. I get how you feel. And my clients, the majority of my clients are a very similar age to me. It's not about, photographing a 20-something-year-old. I do, but the majority of them are very much in my time of life. And I get we don't look at the mirror anymore and go, oh, yeah, I don't like how I look because all the wrinkles are appearing and I don't look anything like I did at 20. All of those things that we say to each other, to ourselves in the mirror. For me, it's about when I speak to women and they're saying, I really don't like in front of the camera. I know I've got to do it. Can we have a chat? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Let's talk. Let's find out whether we can work together. And that's really key. So do you like their work? And get on the phone to them, or have a Zoom, even better, so you can see their face.
I love that. I'm going to add one more as well. And that is check out testimonials, because the women that you photograph, they cannot bloody wait to give you a testimonial because you're so freaking amazing and lovely. So I think that speaks volumes. One of the things that really drew me to you was just the way other people talk about you. It's pretty special to find someone like that. You're pretty special. This is like a love in now.
Thanks. That's very kind. I'll start crying.
Oh, George, thank you so much. If there are people listening who would love to get in touch with you, so you're based kind of like me in the east of England.
Yes.
So if there are people who would love to get in touch, where can they find you?
You can Google me, because I have worked on my SEO. So Georgina Little Photography, I will appear on Google. You can find me on LinkedIn as Georgina Little, and on Instagram, Georgina Little Brand Photography. I don't really use Facebook.
No one likes Facebook. That's fine. No one likes Facebook. And in terms of locations, where do you tend to work with clients?
So I'm based in the east of England. So I photograph women in Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex, Cambridge. But I also go to London, and I travel all over the country. I think the only place I haven't got to yet is Scotland. So if anybody's in Scotland, feel free. I'm happy to travel. And internationally, I have gone back to Kenya to photograph my clients there. And if anybody wants me to come out to them wherever they are, as long as it's warm, I'm very much there.
I've just come back from retreat in Tobago. I can highly recommend a little photo shoot in Tobago next time. It's amazing.
Oh, yes, please.
Just need to drop Deb D, if you're listening, get in touch with Georgina. Get her out there. George, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Jill. I just feel like we just had a nice chat for an hour. Love it.
Love it. Love it. That's all it is. I love it. It's just
Brilliant.
A good chat. Thanks so much. Okay, everyone, I will see you back here same time, same place next week. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that getting our heads together this week has filled your mind with what's possible. If you love the show, would you do me a massive favour, please? Would you leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts? It would really help me put more heads together, reach more ears and expand more minds. Until next week, bye for now.